Well, hi, I'm Ryan. I'm owner of Site Security 360. I'm actually more of a, electrical administrator. I'm used to pulling wire and putting cameras up as well. I might have clicked too far here, no. Mostly what I do is I design and install access control systems, camera systems, and wireless networking. The wireless networking kind of came in after the fact because when we have cameras really far away and we don't want to tear up asphalt, now they have cheap radios that you can put in, well, inexpensive radios that you can put in, and you can send a camera 3 miles away and right back to the building. And all you need is power. So little things like that kind of molded into my trade, as a camera guy. I had a lot of experience with Native Americans. Over the last 10 years, I've been doing work with tribes. And these are a few of the convenience stores that I've had experience in, more like retail. I've done some work with the Squaxin tribe. Their elevations, their retail marijuana. It's a little different than convenience stores, but Steamboat Trading Post, Camilchi Trading Post, the Express. I got to do the Q-Mart out there in Aberdeen. That was good. End of the Trail 3. All of those are really cool systems, and it's been really fun to work with them. The Chehalis one is just awesome now. It's just been looking good. I have a lot of government side of experience as well. A lot of work with the Puyallup tribe and Squaxin tribe on their government entities, so that's just a background on the kind of work we do. We pay a lot of attention to the types of security systems we put in and access control systems. So a lot of knowledge there. Now, to get right down to it though, why do you want to use security? Everyone knows it's safety for the first part, but I really want to enhance that too, because that's really the primary key of the security systems that we put in. You guys aren't building normal convenience stores. These aren't the regular gas stations. You guys got a lot more volume, a lot more moving pieces, and this is your family. You guys are putting your brothers, your sisters, these are job opportunities. This is, you take a lot of pride in these things. These are systems in stores that are building up just another little cog in the wheel to your sovereign nation. And so when you do security, that's the main thing you want to focus on. I'm going to profitability a little bit, but this is life safety. You got to take that seriously. And we're trying to deter as much as we can and any kind of bad things from happening to these stores. The best way to do that is to focus on quality. I've been doing it for so long that the one thing I see is that it's kind of a little bit of an afterthought. Security architects don't really know how to design security systems because a lot of it's IT-based, and IT-based is standard. Every IT department has different standards. They all use different types of equipment, and it takes a lot of personal communication, so I understand that. But if you can get some security design in early in the phases, it'll save you money because you're designing it right into the building and the system. And there's also systems out there. We all have been stacking these systems together, but the problem over time is that we put these systems in and we're kind of stacking them on top of each other. You don't know how these pieces worked here or these pieces worked here, and eventually they start to overlap into different technologies and it starts to stop working. And so an initial design is, if you pay attention to the systems, the contractors, and support, those are the 3 keys that if you pay attention to the quality of those, you can get a really good system. So the basics of video security, there's 2 types of systems. One's an old analog system, which is it's basically a direct signal. And it sends a video signal over a coax cable, the same kind Comcast would staple to the side of your house. And then they run a power wire to the camera too to power it. So you got 2 wires running to your camera. And these are, they're not really scalable because you get a little DVR box, like you mentioned. They are going out because, you got 16 channels on that DVR box, and all of a sudden you need a 17th camera. And what do? You got to buy a whole new DVR box. You got to stack it, and hopefully they work together, because the technology is always evolving. And so that and the software, the cameras, and the DVR are almost always sold together. So if you have a Pelco box, then you usually have Pelco cameras and you usually have the Pelco software, and you can't switch your box out and keep your software. You got to kind of stick to it all. It's all proprietary and sold as a package deal. But that's slowly moving away with IP. IP is just basic internet. You know, it's just the same cord you'd plug into the back of an Xbox. It's an Ethernet cable. That Ethernet cable is one wire, it powers the camera and transfers the data. So now you're running less wire right there to the cameras. And that internet protocol that they're using now takes the data, and instead of just sending a raw video, it digitizes it, sends it over, and then unpacks it. That makes it limitless. So you can have a really high resolution image that, you know, there's no limit to the quality of the image, because as long as they invent a way to transmit that much data and a way to make that clear of an image, you can send it. You know, it's just going to keep getting better. And so these systems, though, they're designed not to be as proprietary. So you can have a different software, different video management software, running different cameras. And if you have cameras, you might be able to mold them all in together, you know, and kind of more universal. And that's what the scalable is, too. So scalable is, now when you want that 17th camera, all you got to do is plug it in and add it in. It's a lot easier now. So you can build these systems up to where, you know, you start with one store, you got 3 stores now, and then you got 4 stores, and now all 4 of these stores are going right back to one central management office, and their IT staff can fix problems from their office over there. Everything's just networked together. So this is really important too, because it's the way all the new cameras are working and making things easier. So they all need support. But if we can make that support easier, then it's going to make things flow better, more reliability. So right here's the basic construct. You don't have to get into it too much, but this is a kind of an overall map of how these things work. So you got your cameras up top. They all plug into a network switch. Everything plugs into this network switch now, basically. Your server will, your workstation will, your internet will. And then all we got to do is send it out to whatever you want or whoever you want to have access to it. And you can control that with credentials. So if you want someone to have just the front door cameras, then you can just give them those and have a manager have that on a tablet or a phone. And they can use these to monitor the facility when they're gone or in the back, or, you know, that the PCs in the back office is a really good thing, because then office is moving everything, and now you can just follow it, install the software over here, and they can look at all their cameras. It makes everything fluid and easy right on the network. This is kind of old coverage. Now, you start out with one camera, and you realize that this car got broken into over here. So then you add another camera, and you're like, it's always just right next to it. You know, it always happens right out of the camera view. So you end up with a corner of a building, and it's looking like this. You got 4 cameras stacked up there. 3 of them work, and you're trying to capture the whole area, though, because it just always happens to be the stuff that misses. So if you leverage the new technology coming out, multi-sensor cameras are really useful, because now I can take this single camera right here, and I have 4 images inside of it, 4 tiny cameras. Now I'm running one wire to that camera, one software license, and it's all on the network. This one specifically is really cool because it actually has motors on each camera, and you can move them around. So to avoid a support call, that camera gets installed. A week later, you say, man, I really wish this was to the right a little bit. Your IT guy can just log in, move it to the right a little bit, move it down, zoom it in, and he gets the view he wants all the time. And these aren't the regular PTZ cameras where you have someone controlling it. These are designed to be fixed cameras. They just move around for less support and maintenance requirements. And you can see the footprint. That physical camera is a lot more attractive, and it's a dome shape, so you don't know what way they're really looking at. You know, it's not pointed directly like the bullet style. So you can go ahead and just clean up your facility with just one camera. And it's a lot less expensive. You're not running 4 power wires and 4 cables to that camera. Well, kind of getting into the specific cameras now. So this image is just relating to the fact that area coverage is good. That's what that Omni camera kind of does. And that's what Aircont's the manufacturer of that camera. They held the patent for about 3 years. And now Sony and Axis and other companies are making them. and they're becoming really popular, but that's good area coverage. This is more specific, and I want to address the point where when you have a need, like monitoring the transaction, you have to have a camera for that need. When you try to combine uses for cameras, then those needs get overlapped. Like all of a sudden, you got to keep it this way because we're looking at the transaction, but then someone else comes along and says, well, let's capture, people walking in the door with the same camera. You try to avoid that. Try to stick to just singular purposes for those single cameras. And that way it doesn't, you continue to get that purpose for the rest of that camera's lifespan in your facility. This is another feature that is coming out in modern cameras. This is called WDR. Wide dynamic range allows you to change the light levels. And when people came in, the cameras used to focus on the background light on a sunny day. And when they came in, there'd be a shadowed figure walking right into your facility. So if you can get WDR cameras for anything that's kind of facing a window, or just order them all WDR nowadays. It's really not an increase in cost. Just make sure that if you're working with a contractor to focus on WDR, because that will help the quality of the image coming in. You'll get more facial recognition, and you'll get just a better image, just to help you out with that. This is another specific camera use. Everybody has these area coverage cameras, and the biggest concern is license plates a lot of the time, because then you see the event happen, and you're like, oh man, I didn't get a license plate for that. But the camera was designed to capture the whole parking lot. So now you got to have a specific use. So this camera is actually off the Q-Mart in Aberdeen, and it's right by the drive-thru, specifically put just for license plates. So now we can capture a license plate, and we have another camera that captures the overview, the transaction between the clerk and the customer, and then as well as the vehicle make and model. And so if we can combine all these things together, then we get more evidence. We're able to capture what we really need when we need it. And when people get caught, it reduces the amount of incidences in the future. Inherently, when you try to maximize space inside of your store, there's never enough storage in these stores. You got a lot of floor space coming up now too, but you move so much volume that you end up stacking boxes and stuff in the back. You end up adding aisles into the inside of your interior. You're trying to maximize your space for sales. And that's good, and what you do is you create blind spots doing that. And to keep from being robbed blind, you can get little cameras that focus in those little blind spots and let them know they're there. So in Q-Mart, there's a little monitor up there that switches between these two exact images. And these two exact images actually, while flashing, it creates a motion. You notice it because it's moving. And then you notice it because it's you. And then you realize that, hey, I can't grab this bottle of alcohol because I'm right here on the camera. And the clerks are right over here and they can see the monitor, but they can't see past the shelving. So just little, it doesn't have to be a big one, create a whole bunch of attention, but enough for the clerks to see, and kind of catch attention to it. And that really helps out and it reduces theft. This is Ray Johnny. He's my right-hand man. He's been working with me for 3 years, and right now we're at the Chehalis store, and end of the Trail 3. There's a little camera above that TV that's going to capture faces coming in. What you notice about this TV, it's not just the TV, it actually has a micro PC on the back of it, and it's networked into the system. And so now is what you got is this is just going to be a video monitor of people's faces coming in. Nice clear image, letting them know that they're on camera. Same thing as pasting up pictures of people who've stolen from you before, letting them know that there's cameras right there. And you put it up there, and you're not trying to scare anyone away or nothing like that, but putting it as a PC reduces support in the future because now the IT department, if they want to take on hold, and as you grow, they can remotely log into this and fix any issues, and it'll be done in an instant. You don't have to dispatch a technician, worry about who to call, when are they going to show up, who's going to pay them. Things like that get reduced when you can remotely control all your stuff. All these network cameras, they can log into the camera directly and fix an issue, log into the software directly, log into the server, all remotely. This is just another, this is more of physical aesthetics. You know, they kind of did the same grid system that they have out here in this casino. And it's just a modern black grid. And there's ways to put the cameras in by customizing the mounting and everything to keep it looking clean. You know, you're not seeing the wire. It's hanging down. You're not adding extra tiles just to support them. And it's supported from the main structure of the building. This here is just an example of a clean installation of a network rack. So this is all the wiring and network switching inside the IT room. It's kind of boring if you're into IT, you're like, hey, that's all right. But overall, troubleshooting is what this really explains too. They're labeled, and sometimes you have to power cycle a camera. And if you have someone on site, they can go into there, find exactly what camera number it is, unplug it, plug it back in, and it power cycles it. That's just one of the inherent things with technology too. Just like your phone, your wireless router at home, every once in a while it needs a little reboot. But these are overall reliable. The great thing too is your IT staff can do the reboots remotely as well with these managed switches. Now, storage. That is, we need reliability on our storage and expandability. So these data servers, as long as there's someone who has proven true to have a good system. This is a Dell server. That's what we like to put in. They're great at data processing, and they're really good systems. But if your IT staff uses HP, that's totally flexible. You can go ahead and put that in. Or if they use any kind of other server hardware structure, let's use it. It's no big deal, as long as it's proven to be reliable and true, and it's designed for data processing and expandable. That way when you grow, you can add more hard drives to make sure you're recording everything. This is just an access control slide. Now, I'll pause on this one for a little bit because access control in a convenience store is like, you know, we're running around 24/7. And if you're running 24/7, you kind of wonder why you even need access control. But key management is a really big thing. So keeping the back of your facility secure, when people go to the dumpster to dump some stuff off, or when they're taking cardboard out, or when they got a shipment come in, they're going and propping that door open because you don't want to have to hand everyone a key, and you don't want to, you know, take that key away or they're going to lose it. Little things like that you have to worry about. And now you just created a security breach in the back because now that door ends up getting left open. There's a rock right next to every door back there that's designed just to put in front of it. Like that's what it's there for. And if you can make it easy for them to get into that door by hitting a code and going in, and they'll close the door behind them. That's no problem. They just want to get back in. And so if you do a little electric lock, you can do a card, you can do a keypad. Keypad's a little more popular. Then it also helps with employee management too. If in the future some employees cycle through, just change the code every once in a while. You know, it's no big deal. You're keeping that facility secure. You're keeping everyone honest. You know, they're shutting that door. They understand that they don't want nothing walking out that back door on its own. People are quick. You know, they'll come through and take stuff in the middle of the day. I've seen it. Walk right in. So much confidence nowadays. It's amazing. Part of that no prosecuting thing. But you notice everything that did get prosecuted was a good video. And it always has something that ties to them. And so you always got to worry about that. What ties all this stuff together is a good software. Right now I'm showing you Exact Vision, which we like. We've also done Milestone and Genetech. Exact Vision is a good software because it ties all these things together, and it partners with hundreds of models of cameras, hundreds of manufacturers of cameras. So that's why it's universal. If you have a Sony camera here, an Axis camera here, an Aerocount camera over here, you put them all into the same software, run them all together, and it's user-friendly. Like right here is just the main screen. You got your camera list on the left. You click on it, it shows a camera. It's really easy. This is just a kind of a preview of the recording. Now, the recording here, it's straightforward. All the blue lines look like a lot, but that's because what we're doing is we're going to record these things on motion to save hard drive space. And everyone's heard of recording on motion, but the way that actually works is that the software determines if there's a change in the image. So sometimes you'll get false motion, like a cloud goes by and everything changes color a little bit. But a lot of the times you can set it to specifically alert you for motion, like on your interior cameras where the lighting is set. At night, if you want to set motion alerts that automatically send an email out to someone, you can do that. You can set a little area, say if motion occurs right here when it shouldn't, give me an email. Tell me that someone's there. And these things are really good because now that you're recording on motion, it shows you where that motion was and it reduces the amount of time you stand there staring at the video. You can say there's a lot of motion over here. So you zoom into that area and you find where the incident occurred. You can also zoom into specific areas. If something happened in this bottom left corner of the image, then you can tell the software to search in that bottom left corner of the image and it will find what happened in that area, saving you time, again, researching things. It's really intuitive help too. So you just put your time in, to and from, same basic softwares. Anyone who's used this stuff is used to.
What was the name of that software you were describing?
That is Exacq, E-X-A-C-Q. And the way these software companies all work now, the video management software companies, they pretty much hand you the software for free, and then they charge you for every camera you put into it. So there's a little licensing fee for every camera you want to add, and that's how they make their money if you're a big corporation, but then still compete with the little guy. And so having that software though, when you say you get multiple facilities, you'll see those facilities lined up. You just hit the tree, it branches all the cameras out in that facility, and you can do the same thing on your phone, your tablet, from home if allowed. Now when you get these video management softwares and all that stuff combined, you got your servers, your cameras, your wiring, we really want to pay attention to your contractor. Now, a lot of you already have contractors out there, and they're probably great. You just got to make sure that they're going to do reliable work, quality work, and if you're new to it, ask for work examples. Ask them to show you some stuff or get a customer reference, and just try to fall into that and don't just, hey, because it's an emergency. When you need security, you get a quote, and a year later, you never acted on that quote, and then all of a sudden someone gets hurt, and everyone's like, what happened to that quote? Let's get this done right now. And sometimes you have to slow it down just a little bit and make sure you pull someone in that's going to do it right, and show back up and make sure they're going to, come back, and if it breaks, get it done right. And the reason I kind of express that too is a lot of these contractors don't have the IT experience. We went from analog to IT. Now these are little tiny computers on the network now instead of just a video camera that got bolted up. So they have to understand networking and how that networking travels. Manufacturer certified helps. A lot of these cameras will void their warranty if they're not installed by someone who's certified. So just ask them if they've been certified, what kind of cameras they're going to put in. If they're going to put in some Axis cameras, say, hey, have you got the certification from Axis? Are you trained? And that avoids any warranty issues in the future. Customer training is a big one because the first time you show someone a lot of stuff, just like right now, it's really hard to bring it all in. And so you give an initial training, but you should always come back and circle back around, especially when you get new staff and stuff, and just do another training. Just let them know that, this is how the software works, because in the event of an emergency, if you can't remember how it works, that's the hardest part, because these are always popping up in an emergency state. A good design is kind of key to an initial installation as well as an existing facility that's upgrading. If you can get a good design together and pull out a drawing with a floor plan, then you can overall see the coverage of the cameras, the limitations of what they're designed for, and avoid having any blind spots or afterthoughts in the system. So by putting together a preliminary design on paper that you can sit down and discuss with everyone, There's so many times where we get in there, we do an initial design almost in the phase of the project, and someone's like, but what about the safe that's right there? And you're like, oh, you know? And so these drawings really help. It helps out a lot. This is just another overall coverage. I'm using the Manny over here's system. He gave me permission to kind of show you guys a little bit. I want to point out this Omni here in the, when you're not used to looking at drawings all the time, is what you're looking at is the facility on the top, and then the gas station awning, and there's pumps lined up. So we can put a single camera in the middle of a group of pumps and capture all the pumps with one camera. And it looks kind of like this. These look a lot alike, but this is actually 4 separate images capturing 6 pumps, all on one camera, one wire, one software license. It makes it to a cleaner installation too, because now you only have a few cameras under that awning, and they're just round pucks on the ceiling. They look good.
And that was at Omni 3 that we had earlier, correct?
There's also, just in general, multi-sensor. It's, they have a dual sensor as well. So when you get into a situation where you have 4 cameras, you're like, I don't need 4 cameras here. You know, a couple might be nice. So they have them, say you're on a flat wall like this, you can put a camera right in the middle of the wall, put a 90-degree lens here, a 90-degree lens here. Now I have one camera capturing 180 degrees, capturing everybody in this room. And it really saves on installation costs, because now you're cutting the amount of cameras almost in half. You're cutting the amount of wiring in half. But then again, you got a little more technology, and that's expensive.
Now, does that like flip back and forth from one side, one point of the picture and other point of the picture? Does it revolve like that, or how does that report?
Good question. There are cameras that have a single lens that kind of move like this, but when it's looking over here, it's not recording over here. This camera has 2 cameras inside of it, and one camera's facing this way, and one camera's facing this way, and I'm capturing everything all the time. And now it's fully recording 180 degrees. And then it has a high resolution, so if you want the zoom in capability, you can zoom it in the software while still recording the whole image and capture a certain area. And that way you can get more detail without ever missing your recording.
Recording both sides, half one.
Yes, sir? Yep. And that's the same with the 4-camera image. That's 4 different cameras capturing 360 degrees all the time. And so when you're looking at one, the other 3 are still recording in the background. It's really fancy. I like it. This is kind of goes into the support thing. You know, as with all these systems, ongoing support is important. So talk to your contractor. Initial construction contractors will come in and put a system in, and they got to just move on to the next job. You know, they don't make money in coming through and supporting you. So just ask them if that's what they do. And if you have a contractor, call them back, see if they'll come back, fix a couple things. It's important to have that relationship, you know, instead of just an initial installation, because when a lot of these general contractors come through, they already have a right-hand man. They have that right-hand man put your system in, and then they just hand you a book and say, figure it out, and run away. And so, you know, so many people are in there scratching their heads when something breaks or goes wrong, because they just stacked it, sent it, and left, and you don't even know who to call. So that's an initial question when you're talking to your contractor. Say, are you guys willing to come back and help us out here? You know, we're going to need support on this in the future. This has to be running, because once we get these systems in place and they go out, it's almost like missing your cell phone. You feel a little blind. Now we can move into the profitability side of this. You know, that was all kind of towards safety, protection, but how can we use these things to, you know, make things run smoother? For an example, I don't know if Amanda and Darla are still floating around, but they were in here earlier, and they have a 60-inch monitor up in their office at Q-Mart, and inside there, they got the 10 key going. They're typing, they're having a conversation while doing 10 digits like this. I don't know how they do it. And they can look out of the corner of their eye and see that a shipping truck has just shown up. Now that shipping truck, there's nobody out there on the dock. They say, hey, get out to the dock. Get to that shipping truck. Or the lines start stacking up in the front of the store, and they're right on it. They got radio systems, and they say, hey, can you get out to the front line? starting to stack up. They got a double drive-through. They have one open when it's slow. We have a camera that faces down the drive-through and looks at the traffic flow. So now when those cars start to back up to where it's hindering people coming into the property, they'll get on there and say, get that second drive-through opened up. Let's get things flowing. Let's make some money. So really it's efficiency, loss prevention, and awareness. Efficiency is what I just kind of touched into a little bit. We're using it as a management tool. Behavioral patterns are pretty important too, because you'll start to notice certain employees who are ducking responsibilities or trying to just, stay out of the way and not really jump in and help. And sometimes you can notice those things and just talk to them, address the facts, and it enables communication on that. Other little things like there's a spill in an aisle. You can send someone over there to quickly get to it before customers start trying to walk through it. It's all through communication and visual. Inside the drive-thrus at Q-Mart, they have another monitor at the second drive-thru so that they can tell cars to move through if they need to. And they're using that video 24/7 live just to keep the efficiency going. This is a big machine, and it's running.
Are these places manned 24 hours a day?
No, not a lot of them.
Q-Mart you were talking about?
No, that one closes down at night from the last, unless they change their policies.
So is there somebody that's sitting in front of the screen as the surveillance observer for the time that they're open?
No one's dedicated to it. That is just because it's in the management office. And usually the people directing are one of the two managers who's sitting there and do the finances and, all the number magic they do. I don't know how they do it all, but. The best part about the live images is the deterrence, really. We're trying to keep these things from happening in the first place. Catching them is good, but as they said, catching them is hard. Actually prosecuting them. It takes a lot of labor involved in catching someone, calling the cops, getting them down there, and the risk factor of, you want to scare these criminals away from the start. And this deterrence factor is what we're really focusing on too. We would rather it not happen at all. And it's a higher chance of someone coming in, and doing a crime if they know there's no cameras there, or they know they're old, or they know they're bullet style and pointed the wrong direction, or they've stolen from there before and they keep returning and everything just gets away. So we're really trying to deter these things. People don't walk into banks and casinos as much as they used to doing crimes because they know they're on camera, they know there's someone there that's going to say something to them, and they know they're being watched. And we got to take that factor down into these systems because life safety is what it all boils down to again. We kind of went over all these with all the other speakers today, but we're worried about theft. We want to catch them. We want a good quality video of them doing it and coverage. Criminal activity, that's the biggest thing. We don't want anyone coming in with a gun. And we want to scare that away as much as we can, because it does happen. And cameras can't stop anything like that, but we're just trying to deter it.
What's the legality over audio?
Well, there's kind of a gray area there, because Washington State, you're not allowed to record audio and video at the same time without consent directly from that person. But as far as sovereign nations go, I don't think there's any law against that, and it's not a federal law. So that is a choice that is made individually. Keeping an honest environment. This was addressed a little bit earlier too. We're trying to keep the employees honest. When we use these things as a management tool, there's a lot of laughter over the radio. It's not a big brother thing. We're getting things moving, we're making things happen. And it keeps an honest crew. And if you have a good manager in there, they're doing a good job at making it that. We're trying to make an honest environment to not only the employees but the customers. Everyone knows that things are being monitored. Everyone's here for a purpose. They want to buy something, they want to sell something, they want a paycheck. Let's just keep it to that, in that honest environment, and that feel. That kind of goes, I'm going to jump down to resolving disagreements. Interpersonal disagreements happen a lot in the workplace. In my personal experience, 90% of them, the accused is exonerated. Because people get frustrated, one situation, someone came to work and they come back in, you hit my car's dented out here. No, I didn't. Yes, you did. Pull up the camera and able to see the damages on the vehicle when it pulled into the property. Resolves the situation. And now an undocumented situation was documented and everyone's okay. And then they move on to the next how it happened. You're missing something. Who took this out of my purse? Or who took my wallet off the table? Well, found out, I left it in my car at lunch. Little things like that is if we can quickly check it and resolve it through a controlled management system to where there's only 1 or 2 people that have control to go back in time, then you're able to do it, document it, show people, move along and say, okay, we're good. It really eliminates, because when it doesn't get resolved right away, it spills in for weeks into that atmosphere. Now for weeks, that person thinks that person hit that car. And it's really hurting the honest environment factor. So if we can, resolve those disagreements, then that really helps. We saw the money scam, changing dollar bills and people trying to slip on a floor. Those kind of things do happen. The more evidence we have, the better. We all know that. But now if we have clarity, we can see the denomination on the bills and we can tell what the transaction was. We have speed too, so we can slow it down and show what happened, and then turn it into a training video. Say, hey, this guy was trying to do this, and this is how fast it can happen, and you can control those types of things with a good quality video. I always just boil back down to safety, mostly because we get so into the profitability side of these things that we forget about the safety. We have an old camera system in this store, and it's been there for 15 years, and half of it's working. If we can get that thing working properly, keep it safe, keep a good moving environment, we really need to do that. And to this day, I still have people coming up to me saying, that IT stuff, that camera stuff, architects can't do it. It's always a second fact. And so, but if we can get in on the architectural phase or right when the ground's breaking, then the same guys that are pulling all the network jacks in your wall can pull all the wire for the cameras too. The same electricians can wire up extra plugs for the server room. Get it all done at the same time with a nice design system. It's going to cost less in the end run. It's going to be less piece by piece, and it's going to have full coverage. So just kind of focusing on those types of things keeps a really good, safe environment and protects the families that we have created jobs for. So, as you can tell, I'm more of a wire puller and not too much of a speech guy. But I just want to say thank you for, putting up with me and taking time to listen to me and having me here. It's been an honor, and I really appreciate being here and seeing this facility, the Yakima Nation. Appreciate it. Thank you. Any questions? Anything else popping out there? Cool. I'm ready. I'll float around a little while. And if anybody has any questions, just let me know. I'm pretty passionate about this stuff.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Thanks for that presentation.
before we appear.
Stay up here
Oh.
for a second.
Thank you.
And I think you did a good job, because look left and look right. We still have, more seats filled than empty. So we really you did something.
All right.
And they totally fell asleep. But we have a tradition here of honoring our speakers. Covering you with this blanket, shaking your hands.
And then I'm gonna unfold it.
Well, I appreciate it, Robert. Thank
Here
you.
we go. There we go. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Do we do picture now?
Oh, yeah, right, yeah.
Ah, you gotta see this time. There we go.